Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this special Fenner Seminar at a special time. So thanks for fitting it into your schedules. I'm Peter Kagohashi, Professor of Forestry and collaborator with Kaz Kagohashi, who's our sort of lead from the Institute of Social Ethics at Nanzan University, here with his colleagues, Stefan Meyer, who's director of that institute, Taro Okuda, who, as well as being a member of the institute, is also vice president of Nanzan University. So we've got royalty from the Nanzan University and the practitioners at the Institute of Social Ethics who are here with us this afternoon. We'll begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the country that we meet on, the Ngunnawal and the Ngambri people, and paying our respects to their elders past and present, a really appropriate thing to do when we're talking about land care, because of course land care ethic is very much about the ethic of caring for country. As many of you in the room are very well aware, land care is an Australian phenomenon that emerged as a grassroots movement in the 1980s, probably we date it to. Has ebbed and flowed a bit in Australia, partly thanks to the way in which we, in my view, bureaucratised some of the land care processes, but nevertheless, there remains significant commitment in land care groups around the country to the purpose and ethic of land care. And it's also a movement that's spread internationally, been promoted, by Australia as one of the contributions we might make to the large challenges of what in the international arena are probably now called landscape or forest and landscape restoration. Amongst those who've taken the idea and really developed thinking about that are Kaz and his colleagues at the Institute of Social Ethics. So we welcome you very much in that context. Thank you for being our ambassadors in Japan, both in land care terms and Kaz also for the Fenner School. So we're pleased to welcome you back. Welcome Sayori, who's not an academic appointee at the university, but an equally important member of the team. Welcome back to Sayori. So this afternoon, we're going to hear from each of Kaz, Stefan and Taro with some different perspectives on this topic about land care and social ethics. I was reflecting to Kaz and Steve and Taro yesterday that from my point of view, it's really welcome that we've got this focus on the dimensions of land care, because I think some of the momentum in academic work around land care that was very evident in the 90s and early 2000s has been subsumed by other things. And it's great that they're bringing us back to this topic. So format for this afternoon, we've got 3 presentations. Now we'll have a short break when we get to the end of those 3 presentations, and we'll have an open discussion around a catch box after that. So Kaz, can I welcome you first? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can applaud. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kaz Kagohashi. I'm very pleased to be here as part of Fenner Seminar. And I really appreciate this fantastic opportunity for us as Institute for Social Ethics, because we're celebrating 45th anniversary of the Institute. And we really appreciate to have this seminar during such a significant year. So I have today 20 minutes for my presentation, and I will talk about the relationship between Landcare and Ikigai concept in Japan. Yeah. Peter kindly introduced us about this workshop, so I will skip the aim of the workshop. But we wanted to deepen the understanding of Landcare, because Landcare is, as Peter mentioned, a grassroots-rooted activities, but it contains various ethics inside. So we wanted to dig in about that social ethics perspective, and we wanted to open the dialogue between among the participants and academics and my friends as to how can we understand the Landcare principles. And we will have, well, including me, we have Taro and Steve later. And again, we appreciate this time for the workshop during the significant year of our anniversary. And as a visiting fellow, I finished my sabbatical, 18 months of sabbatical this last March. And I really appreciate Fenner School that I've been part of. And I could proceed my research on Landcare in Australia. And I could have a chance to, present like this. And I could deepen and expand my network in Landcare, and really appreciate Peter's kindness for involving me, getting me involved in the journal club members, and as I see here, and the academics at Fenner School. So first of all, you know very well about Landcare, I think, but I understand it is kind of grassrooted activities, and it seeks to conserve native vegetations and retrieve the indigenous species. And to do that, it invests various capitals, as I mentioned later, but it promotes the education and mutual learning, and it promotes the conservation of natural capital, and it promotes the breeding of the alien species. And it also invests in the community nurseries like this, and it has a kind of a great productive base in Landcare. So it developed its productive base in at the local scale. And I want to talk about the relationship between Ikigai and Landcare. I'm not quite sure how many of you have heard about the term Ikigai, but I believe that the term is becoming popular because we have a best-selling book these days. And Ikigai is a Japanese word. It stands for a reason to live, or reason for being, and what makes life worth living, or a sense of fulfillment. So it's a multifaceted concept, and it's kind of a vague concept for Japanese too, but it grasps the core values of the reason to live as a human being. And Iki is to live. It's written in Japanese, and Gai is worth for something. So Ikigai, we say Ikigai in daily life. It is a kind of casual word to say, oh, this is my Ikigai, or I'm living for this Ikigai, something like that. And nowadays, well, as I mentioned, the world best-selling book, Ikigai, it understands as something that satisfies what you love, what the world needs, and what you are good at, and what you can be paid for. This is a very handy framework, but actually, from Japanese perspective, it is too smart, I think, to understand Ikigai, what Ikigai is. But I think it is very handy to understand the overall meaning or overall image of Ikigai. So I put the framework out here. But I want to look back the origin of the Ikigai concept, the research of the Ikigai concept. And we have history of Ikigai research in Japan, actually, after 1960s and 1970s, because Japan experienced rapid growth, economic growth, but many people felt something vagueness. But income or raising income or money cannot substitute what they are seeking for. And Ikigai was the kind of the key term for them at that time. And people and researchers sought what the Ikigai is about and how to improve our Ikigai. And we have several research here, like Sosuke Mita, he's sociologist, and he mentioned the liberation of people from extreme poverty, because at that time poverty was the problem in Japan, and meaning of life acquired between self and others, and many things. And after that, Fujiwara and Shibata deepened the concept, and we developed a kind of the questionnaires of Ikigai scale, and it's based on in the psychology. But I believe the Ikigai has more than the thick concept inside. Well, I want to show you or share the origin and the pioneer of Ikigai, a Japanese lady. Back in 1960s, well, she lived before the World War II. Well, she was born, her name was Dr. Mieko Kamiya, and she was a psychiatrist, one of the three psychiatrists at University of Tokyo. It's quite rare at that time. The woman did not have such kind of position at that time, but she devoted herself into the caring of the leprosy patients in hospital. And she developed and she explored the concept of Ikigai, how the Ikigai motivates the patients, and how the Ikigai can solve the patient's mental illness. And she she mentioned the typology of Ikigai. This is what I'm focusing today. In the five typologies. The first is fulfillment for life, and second is change and growth, and the third is self-actualization and meaningfulness. Sorry, and fourth, future prospects and freedom, and fifth, social rewards as such as friendship and sympathy, and honor and respect, and valued by others through service. So these are the typology of Ikigai that Mieno Kamiya developed in her book published in 1960. And I want to follow this typology of Ikigai and to compare how the Landcare is related to. So the Landcare and Ikigai, I believe that I argue that Landcare has every aspect of Ikigai as introduced by Dr. Mieko Kamiya. And the first fulfillment for life. And Dr. Kamiya introduced some examples such as aesthetic appreciation of nature and arts, hobby, enjoyment in a daily life. So that's the examples. And in case of Landcare, of course, we appreciate nature and we engage in on-ground work and rehabilitate the landscape. So this part of Landcare is definitely related to the fulfillment for life. And I've met many people, and they show their connectedness with nature and their fulfillment as a career, as a job, as volunteering, and they express that perspective. And the second, change and growth. And the example were study, traveling, hiking, journey, which is kind of new development for people. So Dr. Kamiya thought that change and growth was part of Ikigai. And in terms of Landcare, Landcare always respect the mutual learning, and they develop local knowledge and share the knowledge among the participants. And they also participate in field trip, and they discover the new things and new approaches, and they will take it back their home and apply that approach into their in the farmlands or their properties. So this kind of change and growth is very related to Landcare too. And third, self-actualization and meaningfulness. And Dr. Kamiya mentioned that it is relevant to engage in a task or work to recognize one's meaning of existence. So this is this may sound a very vague or theoretical thing, but in terms of Landcare, production of natural capital through nature repair work, and of course community nurseries like this, everyone can participate in. And I met several people who have handicaps like this, at the bottom of this picture. And he can be involved in that nursery project. And this is, I thought, this is very important to get people together. And I feel that I observe that these processes also contributes to the increase in self-actualization and meaningful task. And fourth, openness for future and freedom. Dr. Kamiya mentioned that this is related to setting life goals, dreams, ambitions, etc., to keep people motivated toward nature. And Landcare, in terms of Landcare, Landcare is highly autonomous, which means free to choose and free to plan what to do. And every group can determine their goals and plans. And of course, everyone can participate in the local groups, and they can discuss and raise voice for local sustainability. They can show their needs, local needs, to be conserved or to be respected. So this is very important, and this is related to the Ikigai facet of openness for future and freedom. And the fifth, so social rewards, for example, friendship and sympathy. This is definitely the case in Landcare, because Landcare is accumulating social capital and building good relationship between people. So that's the core part of Landcare, I believe, and it's been researched since 1990s, and it is shown that Landcare has contributed to accumulating social capital. So this is definitely the thing. And the second, honor and respect. And I think the network can play a pivotal role here, because every Landcare network and national Landcare has award system, and people can be awarded the people and groups can be awarded based on their achievements. So this can give people a credit, honors, and respect this kind of institutions, I think. And the last thing, valued by others through dedication. And this is also important because Landcare is voluntary-based activities. And volunteering requires no cost, but they can provide certain amount of benefit. So from economics perspective, everyone can participate and everyone can be valued as a valuable volunteer. So this is also the case for Landcare. So as you can see, all 5 categories can be related to Landcare. And I want to show you some kind of a model of Ikigai model for Landcare. And the 3 categories of Ikigai, the first 3 categories, Ikigai, can be evaluated through the lens of serious leisure concept. And serious leisure is consisted of personal fulfillment, skill and knowledge development, and perseverance, and identity formation. So these the first 3 Ikigai categories can be correlated to serious leisure. So I can put these 3 categories into one serious leisure concept. And the 4th, openness for future and freedom, can be evaluated through the lens of autonomy. And the last, social rewards, is social connections. So these serious leisure, autonomy, and social connections are the relevant factors for Landcare, which is not being proposed before. But from the Ikigai perspective, Landcare engagement can increase the level of serious leisure and autonomy and social connections, which can increase or bring about the Ikigai. And through this process, the output is coming out of it is natural capital at first, and the second is human capital. So this is, I believe, really important, because Ikigai is can contribute to, it is researched fully, and Ikigai is known to be related to health and longevity. And so it can contribute to human capital in the long run, and Landcare can contribute to augmented natural capital stock, and we can utilize this investment into capital assets in addition to the manufactured capital or financial capital, and we can utilize the capital assets and invest into the Landcare activities. And when the Ikigai is brought about, people are more motivated to Landcare engagement, and this process will expand the size of the productive base at the local scale. So this is what I wanted to show you today, the Ikigai model for Landcare development. So this is last slide for me. Conclusion: the Landcare meets all categories of Ikigai, and volunteer and community-based environmental activities in Landcare can augment Ikigai through serious leisure and social connections. And as Taro and Steve will argue later, autonomy is the keystone for Landcare, and from my observation, and it affects the quality of serious leisure and social connections. So we need to we need to focus on 3 categories, 3 factors: autonomy, serious leisure, and social connections. And lastly, Ikigai is both a driving factor of sustainable engagement in Landcare and kind of a hidden investment in human capital. So we can utilize this concept, the Ikigai concept, and I believe that it can deepen the understanding of Landcare in Australia. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kaz. Well, we can all say that we heard it here first, the relationship between Ikigai and Landcare. I can see in what Kaz was saying, not just a reflection to Australia, but a good case for selling Landcare in Japan. And I also was thinking, as perhaps some of my AU colleagues were, we could do with some Ikigai in our university. right at the moment. That's a different issue. We'll move on. Thanks very much, Kaz, and come back to that discussion subsequently. But to welcome Stefan Meyer. Stefan's the director of the Institute for Social Ethics. He's international law and theology academic, and he's going to focus on some of the governance aspects. Steve, welcome.
Thank you for the introduction. Peter already introduced myself. I am Steve Meyer. Originally, I'm from Indonesia, but I spent this last 30 years in Japan. I went to Japan as a student and then studied in Japan. And at the end, I returned to Nanzan University, where I did my undergraduate. And since 2018, I joined the institute. And then since last year, I became the director of the Institute of Social Ethics. So my field of expertise is actually in international human rights law. And my area of interest is in business and human rights. So I have been doing research on the legal and moral responsibility of transnational cooperation with regard to human rights and also environment. So today my presentation is about how Landcare amplifies subsidiarity as a multidimensional polycentric governance in landscape management. So this is not actually it's not my expertise, but since Kaz joined Landcare here in Australia, our institute also support Kaz activities here in Australia, and then we at the institute also finally knew what Landcare is, and then since then. We quite actively participate in most of the Kaz activities, and we support him. And this time, I choose this title because in business and human rights research also, I did a research on corporate governance. And in corporate governance also, we use this subsidiarity principle also to allow those at the bottom to make decisions. So I think this is also relates to Landcare as well. And when we talk about subsidiarity, it's actually a line of governance from the top to the bottom. But usually we think it in vertical approach. But today I want to talk about not only vertical approach, but also horizontal approach. We talk not only about vertical subsidiarity, but also horizontal subsidiarity. So this is a short introduction about myself and then talking points of my presentation today. So I will talk first about the core notion of subsidiarity and then types of subsidiarity, example from Landcare, and then overall challenges, lessons, and implications. So I think most of you also already knew about this type of governance, what we call subsidiarity. So subsidiarity is as much as possible, decision-making should be at the most local or most grassroots level, feasible for a particular decision. This is from Landcare author Dale and colleagues. So what we are talking here is about tasks are performed at the most suitable level and sphere of organization. So when we talk about subsidiarity, we allow people at the bottom, especially those close to the problem, to make the decision because they are the one who knows what's going on in the field. In most cases, when we talk about subsidiarity, I already talked a little bit about that. It's in a vertical way, so it's top-down approach. But from the subsidiarity perspective, it should be bottom-up. But most of the time, when we talk about bottom-up approach, also it's quite difficult because we already have line of authority, and also we have laws, and then those at the bottom, they should follow all these laws and regulations. It can become a barrier for them. So what we talk here is about structural and institutional management of governance in performing tasks and responsibility. So when we talk about subsidiarity, the preference is on the proximity, the closeness, the nearness to certain institutions, to the problem at the field. So why we need a subsidiarity principle? There's two reasons for that. The first one is ethical reason, and the second one is policy reason. So ethical reason is that individual human person is the one who has the legal authority to say something about the problem they have. So usually we live in a society, we have institutions, and each institution usually we have members. And actually members is the one, the only ultimate, they have this something to say about moral values, what is important for them in their life. So institutions or organizations, it's acceptable if they really act on behalf of each member in that society. So if not, then it's useless because everything should be centralized in a human person, the member of the society. So this is ethical reason. And this ethical reason also actually is influenced by moral code and also religious belief about human dignity. Each human person has values, and therefore we should take care of them. And then every institutions, if they want to do something, it should be for the benefit of this each member. It means we talk about the common good. When we talk about common good, we talk in general term for the whole only institutions, but actually when we talk, this is different from public good. When we talk about common good, it means the good of each member should become we should prioritize them. And then from this common good of each member, we talk about the member of the whole organization or society. So this is the first reason. And the second reason why we use the principle of subsidiarity is the reason of efficiency and effectiveness. So those who are close to the problem, actually those who knows the whole situation, they have the information, they have the data, and then if we use them properly, it means we can reduce costs as well. And also we can find a proper way to solve the problem. Because in subsidiarity, if top-down approach, even we help them, but if we don't know their situation, it may be not appropriate for them. So because they are the one who close to the problem, we should allow them to make decision or to consult them or talk to them. So this is the second reason for why we use the subsidiarity principle. And then when we talk about subsidiarity principles, there's two types of subsidiarity. Most of the time when we talk of subsidiarity is vertical subsidiarity. This is because we live in a world where there is a political structure of our society. We have central government, and then regional government, and then local government. And then in this line of authority, usually we solve the problem in our society. So if it's only top down, usually in subsidiarity principle, it's allow the level of authority that close to the problem should allow first to solve the problem. And if that level cannot solve that problem, we allow for the higher level of that structure of political organization. So in this level of governance, because we use this, the difficult of this, we saw the slide first. So the difficult of this vertical subsidiarity is that the governments usually they are the one who say about everything in our society. So we should follow the law that also decided usually by the government, and also they are the one who make the policy for us. And usually we think that as a institutional and administrative decentralization. So we talk here about multi-level governance. So it's a stable or fixed subsidiarity, we cannot change it because the governments already have their own system. And the problem here is the challenge for us is power, resources, and function distribution. So because it's a relationship between a higher level of governance and local governments, or those who are close to the problem, this is a matter of division of power, how we manage this division of power. It can be very fragmented. And also because we have to follow the rule based on regulatory framework, means we have public law and private law in our society. Everything we should follow this law. If this go beyond that, it can be very difficult. So this is challenges. That's why how to keep the balance between a top-down and bottom-up approach can be very difficult. Most of the time, usually in vertical subsidiarity is a top-down approach. But actually, when we have problem, we need also bottom-up approach. But to keep the balance, it's not very easy. So that's why, because we have to work within this regulatory framework, subsidiarity can become simply a formality of administrative decentralization. So, of course, because we live in this kind of political system, we need this vertical subsidiarity, but it is not enough. It is necessary, but it is enough. It's not enough. That's why in my presentation today, I want to focus on the second one, horizontal subsidiarity. It means it not only based on what we have right now in political system right now, but when certain tasks are better performed by non-public entities closer to individuals, the state should let this happen. Means we should allow other parties as well, mean private entities. So what we are talking here is about multi-center governance. So not multi-level like in vertical subsidiarity, but we talk about this multi-center governance. It means it should be a flexible subsidiarity. So the focus is on innovative and open notion of governance, adaptive and sustainable policymaking. Because we allow those, especially non-public entities, to do it, whether it's corporation or NGOs or any other civil society groups, because they know the situation in the fields. If we give them opportunity to do it, they may find new ways to do it. And in this case, usually the situation here also allow for not only to follow this public and private law, but laws of private entities. Means we should allow these private non-public entities to make laws and regulation for these activities. Of course, it not should be in conflict with public and private laws. It means because they know the situation, and then they can make regulation or that can follow by all the members of that group. But the challenges for this approach is center of power depends on means and conditions. It means the problem will be a matter of consolidation of power and resources distribution, because we have, on another hand, government official, and on another hand is private entities. How to consolidate this power and authorities can be become challenges. So because we allow for this regulatory law of private and matters, means they have to create their own laws. It can be in conflict with public and private laws. But because they know the situation, if it is not in contradiction with public and private laws, it can be work very well for those in the field. So the problem, another problem for this is overlapping responsibility. Means whose responsibility? If there is a problem, then whose responsibility? The government maybe say, public authorities can say that, no, because you said you have your own policy and then you make your own regulation, then you should take responsibility for that. But actually, if you live in a communities in political administrative structure of governance, usually the government is also responsible for our life as citizens. So it can be a blame game or finger pointing to each other. That's why I will talk about this Landcare. I think Landcare may be one of very good example how Landcare communities, they mix this vertical subsidiarity and horizontal subsidiarity for an innovative governance here in Australia. And I think this is quite successful in Australia. And if we compare to other countries, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's not very successful like here in Australia. This is because Australia have this mixture of vertical and horizontal subsidiarity. So it is not only institutional and administrative decentralization, but most importantly, a multidimensional polycentric form of governance. It means we still follow the laws and also all the policy from the government, but at the same time also allow non-public entities also to be involved in our social problem, including in environmental issues. So not only distributing more power and tasks and resources to local and regional authorities, but most importantly, multiplying the domain of decision-making by multiple entities, both public and private. And then the second one, I think this is also, we can see here in Landcare movement here in Australia, functioning beyond mere an act of social solidarity, means it not only a philanthropy or social service, but it entails not only organized group of individuals providing service to others for social solidarity purpose, means to help those in need temporarily, but most importantly, organized groups of individuals guaranteeing service to their members for functional purpose. Means the activities itself should lead to independence and autonomy. Today, Kaz talked about ikigai. I think this maybe relates to this point as well. So, of course, in Landcare movement, if we see their activities, it's like a voluntary work. They do it happily, but actually, it is not only a voluntary work, social solidarity purpose. Of course, there are some people with problems, and then our environmental problems also is there. So they involve in those problems, but also for functional purpose. And means as a member of society, they know it is their function as well. And they do it happily because it is their ikigai as well. They find meaning in those kind of involvement. And it leads to independence and autonomy for those people and those who involved in Landcare movement. So if it can create independence and autonomy, it means it can reduce costs when they have to solve that problem, because people who involved in those problems, they do it happily, freely, without we don't need to pay them, because they know it is their responsibility, their function as well. And also because those people they involved in the field, they know all the information as well. And also for all kind of experiment as well, they can do it with low cost, and also all kind of innovative approach also they can take. So another aspect of this, the mix of these two kinds of subsidiarity is self-policy and self-regulation by private actors for innovative governance. Not only dependent on regulations set up by public authorities, but most importantly, contractual communities among private entities. I just talked a little bit about that. It's a contractual community. If you look at Landcare movement in Australia, they don't have written regulation what to do, but at least all the members, they know they want to participate. It's kind of like a unwritten contract between them. So they know what to do when they join this movement. So not only public and private laws, means public and private laws is laws they create by the government, but also laws of private entities. They create a regulation what they should do between them in the society. And then another aspect of that is voluntary but contractual origin, freely and expressly accepted by members when they join the association. So we can see this in Landcare movement. And then the last one is coordination, integration of various initiatives by private entities. We also can see in Landcare movement, there are a lot of groups of Landcare movement here in Australia, but actually they have networks. They have relations between these groups, and then they coordinate, they learn from each other, and also they support each other. So I just summarize it about this point, giving private individuals opportunity to organize themselves as they see fit in order to provide others the benefit and service that they deem most appropriate in simple compliance with the general legislation and without necessarily requiring any formal agreement or partnership with the public sector. Because, of course, we need public sector as well, because they are one has responsibility for everything in our life in a society. But in some cases, if there is a group that can be do something that innovative for the society, I think we should give that opportunity for them. I think Landcare movement, I think is one of the examples of that. And this is the last slide. This overall challenges, lesson and implication. I think this is in here in Australia, everything seems going all right. But if we compare with other countries, misperception among many policymakers or public authorities about this polycentric system of governance. Because when we talk about vertical subsidiarity is something that already fixed in our society. And usually the government, if they have top-down approach, maybe it's easy for them to do it. They can decide it, and then they also can provide funds for that, financing all those policy as well. And then because of this misperception, they think it is necessarily inefficient. That's why they do it themselves. But we can see this, for example, in Japan. I think it's quite strong top-down approach. Of course, there is in some cases, the government allow for bottom-up approach, but most of the time it's a vertical subsidiarity in a top-down approach. And then the second point, I think the consequence of the first one, straitjacketing a priori to a private organization and association, and also intentional communities. Those who really, they may have good intention and also they know how to solve the problem, but because it is quite a strict and fixed, this vertical subsidiarity, it may create a barrier for those groups to do some new experiment or innovative action in the field. And then the last one, I think this is challenges as well. If we talk about both, it's the mixture of both vertical subsidiarity and horizontal subsidiarity, is how we should draw the clear line of function in governance. Means to what extent we allow these private non-public entities to solve this problem, and then to what extent we allow the public authority to do it, and also what kind of laws private entities should make for their own activities, and then to what extent the laws, public and private laws that provided by the government should regulate those activities. It's sometimes quite difficult and can be in conflict. And also about resource and infrastructure as well. So to what extent non-public authorities provide the resources for those groups, and to what extent will allow the public authorities to do it. So we should have a clear line of function in this case, so that we know the scope, and also when there is something happen, then who should be involved in those cases. And then what we should do here is that how to create a situation within which many social subsystems and also intentional communities organizations can be flourished. So this is quite a very ideal. It's not very easy, but I think here if you look at Landcare movement, I think at least they have this kind of balance. If I'm not mistaken, if I mistake about this in discussion later, I think, and maybe we can talk about this. But if from outside, if we compare with other countries, I think here in Australia, this works very well. That's why Landcare movement here in Australia is flourished very well. And then this is my conclusion. So that's why when we talk about this line of governments in solving problem in our society, especially with regard to environmental matters, it's not only fixed subsidiarity, means multi-level vertical subsidiarity, but also we need flexible subsidiarity, multi-center or horizontal subsidiarity. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve. Numbers of others in the room would know that I think your framing of subsidiarity and policy-centric governance is one that has been thought about in the context of natural resource management generally in Australia. So I think many of the points that you made are consistent with that sort of analysis. Whether Landcare groups on the ground have quite the same optimistic view about how well things are working, I think that's an interesting discussion to have, separate from your point about how we might think about it in sort of structural terms. So thanks very much, Steve, for that. And our third and final speaker, we're a little bit behind time, sorry, but Taro Okuda. Taro is a philosopher, and he's going to take us to more of a philosophical perspective on Landcare. So thank you, Taro. Welcome.
Hi, hello. I'm Taro Okuda, a philosopher from Japan, and it's very pleasure for me to make a presentation in this Fenner Seminar. I am a philosopher, so I take a traditional style of presentation in philosophy. I'm reading a script, okay?
Good choice of slide as well.
Yeah. But I use it straight. So, strictly speaking, I am not a researcher of Landcare, but though my collaborative work with colleagues at my institute, I'm coming to understand the unique and fascinating qualities of Landcare. I believe a major part of Landcare's appeal lies in the autonomy and self-organization of its participants and their networking style. I suspect that what supports this is their approach to sharing knowledge for problem solving. And I guess that a key difference between government-initiated projects and autonomous community-driven movements like Landcare lies in the nature of expertise that's utilized. My own background is in philosophy, specifically moral philosophy or ethics. From the very beginning of my studies, I've been researching the raison d'etre of ethics, namely the question of why specialized knowledge is needed for the ethical, that almost all ordinary people, even children, have some understanding of, sometimes better understanding than philosophers. This led me to develop an interest in the nature of scientific expertise and how it can engage with society. This is precisely why I became so curious about how expertise is formed, shared, and utilized within Landcare activities. Today, I'd like to talk about that. So, I'm talking about how expertise is supposed to function within Landcare activities and how it can influence the nature of autonomy in those activities. As a philosopher, I will explore these topics through a conceptual approach and propose a model for Landcare activities. First, very pretty, and I will explain the relationship between autonomy and expertise in general. Expertise and autonomy are fundamentally and closely linked. A group of experts who possess specialized knowledge, such as an academic society, needs to operate autonomously, free from external intervention, to maintain its own standards and ensure the quality of its work through peer review. The authenticity of expertise is therefore guaranteed by its autonomy. While expertise presupposes the autonomy of the group that holds it. From the perspective of those who receive that knowledge, expertise can sometimes either promote or hinder their own autonomy. Let's look at the relationship between expertise and autonomy in terms of both individual and group autonomy. First, let's consider the relationship between them, individual autonomy and expertise. When an individual makes autonomous decision, assessing, understanding, and appropriately using expertise, such as scientific knowledge, practical rules of thumb, and technical information, can lead to a more informed decision. However, because specialized knowledge is highly fragmented and sophisticated, ordinary individuals often have to rely on the opinions of experts to address specific problems. Thus, while expertise can expand the range of autonomous choices by providing high-quality information for addressing complex issues, it can also hinder autonomous choice due to information asymmetry between experts and non-experts, or through expert guidance. Next, how about the relationship between group autonomy and expertise? The same issues arise here. A group making a decision on a particular problem can bring together the diverse expertise and experience of its members to make an appropriate autonomous decision from a broader perspective without external intervention. On the other hand, disagreements among experts from different fields or conflicts between expert knowledge and non-expert practical knowledge can make autonomous decision-making difficult within the group. A conflict between expert knowledge and non-expert experience becomes particularly serious when there is tension between democratic autonomous decision-making and expert judgment. For example, when issues like climate change, pandemics, or vaccination are debated, the nature of autonomous decision-making by citizens, who is supposed to hold the ultimate authority in a liberal democratic society, is called into question. These same problems can arise in Landcare activities. When there is tension between a scientist's expertise and a farmer's practical knowledge over how to address the problem, how can the Landcare group make an autonomous decision? I believe that in Landcare, scientists and farmers engage in dialogue to find a compromise on how to deal with a problem, leading to an autonomous decision. Even if this may not always work, I will assume that Landcare activities are generally successful at making autonomous decisions in conjunction with expertise. So, my specific interest is how expertise and practical knowledge are exchanged during this process in Landcare activities. Then, let's explore what expertise is. The framework I will use to explore the question is a theory of expertise developed by Harry Collins and Robert Evans, the Wales sociologists in the field of science and technology studies. Collins and Evans define expertise as follows. Individuals acquire real and substantive expertise through their membership of those groups. Acquiring expertise is therefore a social process, a matter of socialization into the practices of an expert group, and expertise can be lost if time is spent away from the group. Okay. Collins and Evans created the periodic table of expertises to categorize different types of expertise. For this presentation, I will focus on intellectual expertise and contributory expertise, which they discuss most extensively. These two types of expertise are classified in the specialist expertises role. In order to grasp the status of these expertises in the periodic table, we need to understand ubiquitous expertises briefly. Collins and Evans describe them as follows. Ubiquitous expertises are those such as natural language speaking. Natural language speaking is one of ubiquitous expertises, which every member of a society must possess in order to live in it. When one has a ubiquitous expertise, one has, by definition, a huge body of tacit knowledge, things you just know how to do without being able to explain the rules for how you do them. Okay. All expertises presuppose ubiquitous expertises. In contrast, intellectual expertise and contributory expertise have to be supported by a high level of specialist tacit knowledge. Okay. Contributory, which is cultivated through some continuous training. And a contributory expertise is what we typically associate with scientists. But this type of expertise is not limited to science. It is the skill of specialists who have mastered practical abilities in a particular domain, enabling them to produce new results through tasks like calculations, experiments, or writing papers and some practices and so on. Conventional science studies have focused on the contributory expertise, but Collins and Evans newly introduced the concept of intellectual expertise. They state the ideal of intellectual expertise implies that complete fluency in the language of a specialist domain can be acquired in the absence of full-blown physical immersion in the form of life. Intellectual expertise is held by people who, without their hands-on proficiency of contributory expertise, can converse and debate at a sufficient level with experts in a specific field. For example, a journalist who studies physics on their own and frequently interacts with professional physicists might eventually engage in highly sophisticated discussion with them, even proposing new ideas. This journalist has acquired intellectual expertise. If they communicate anonymously via email about a specific topic in physics, professional physicists with contributory expertise cannot distinguish whether they are talking to another physicist or a journalist with intellectual expertise. Collins and Evans proved by some experiments to this it's true. And however, this journalist cannot perform mathematical demonstrations or writing papers by themselves. Furthermore, contributory expertise can be taught to and passed down to new generations, but on the other hand, intellectual expertise is difficult to transfer from person to person or across generations because it has to constantly involve interactions with other forms of expertise in a practical setting. In a sense, intellectual expertise exists by parasitizing contributory expertise. Okay, now I can get into an argument about autonomy and expertise in Landcare. The participants in Landcare activities, researchers, engineers, practitioners, and farmers can each be considered bearers of their own domain-specific contributory expertise. These bearers of expertise might share their knowledge to move their activities forward. If this engagement with expertise does not hinder the autonomy of the individuals and groups involved in Landcare, it may be because Landcare activities provide many opportunities for people to acquire intellectual expertise. I think it is likely that a key factor supporting the autonomy of Landcare activities is a sharing of expertise rooted in intellectual expertise. So I propose the following. In Landcare community, many participants usually have conversations and discussions with various specialists during their own activities. Then, in addition to the contributory expertise held by each stakeholder, intellectual expertise is acquired by many participants through conversations and discussions within the Landcare community. This mitigates the negative aspects of expertise and promotes a synergistic effect on both individual and group autonomy of Landcare activities. Typically, when experts with contributory expertise discuss an issue within the limits of their respective fields, they are highly likely to fall into situations that hinder individual and group autonomy. This can manifest as experts one-sided guiding non-experts or as disagreements among experts themselves. In such cases, the widening gap between expert judgment and democratic decision-making becomes unavoidable. In contrast, when many people have acquired intellectual expertise, more individuals can get involved in discussions even without a specific contributory expertise. Their intellectual expertise allows them to participate in highly specialized discussions, enabling non-experts to offer their own opinions at a sufficient level. This can help prevent information asymmetry between experts and non-experts, avoid manipulation by experts, and more easily resolve disagreements among experts. As a result, both individual and group autonomy will be promoted in an appropriate balance. To put it in another way, Landcare participants, researchers, practitioners, engineers, and farmers, etc., each bring some contributory expertise their own. Every Landcare activity fosters conversations and discussions with various specialists, allowing participants to acquire intellectual expertise. This intellectual expertise acts as a bridge connecting different forms of knowledge. Therefore, the negative aspects of expertise relating to autonomy are mitigated, and a synergy between individual and group autonomy is promoted in Landcare. So, in this presentation, I have proposed a model where the acquisition of intellectual expertise is a key factor supporting the autonomy of Landcare activities. I would like to discuss with you whether this model can be used to analyze real-world examples of Landcare activities. Please give me some examples. I don't know well example, so please discuss with us. That's all. Thank you.
A Canberra picture of interactional expertise happening on the screen. Thanks very much, Taro, for that rounding off of the three presentations. Another very stimulating presentation. I noted, as some others of you probably did, that BMAT expertise was identified in the periodic table, and that's probably very relevant for Landcare in my observation of Landcare meetings. More seriously, we're going to have a short break, and then we're going to move to the interactional expertise through dialogue. So let's take a break that brings us back at 10 minutes to 3. So those online, have a cup of tea. See you back online at 10 to 3, and others in the room, hope that you can stay and join the dialogue in 7 minutes' time. Thank you very much, Taro, Kaz, Sue. Yes.
I think ikigai is related to eudaimonia, but when it comes to eudaimonia, the good life or good to live, like it's proposed by Aristotle. But I think that concept eudaimonia is more of ideal way of life, and it's very it's not the way of real life. So I think the ikigai is more casual thing. It contains casual way of implement a good way of living, not to think of the ideal way of living as a humans or as a civil people. Ikigai can capture not only the eudaimonic, the ideal picture of image of way of living, that were the goals of life, but it also contains the casual happiness. Well, I always think of the ikigai concept is looking at happiness in a different way. When it comes to well-being or happiness, we use not only eudaimonia, but life satisfaction or country ladder of happiness, whatever. But ikigai is a very concrete idea to foster for his or her happiness in a daily life. So that makes me believe that the ikigai is focusing on the different realm of happiness, which is not captured by eudaimonia. So.
Thanks. Questions or comments in the room here?
You saved me. Hello, I'm Depi. Nice to meet you all, and thank you for coming again here for Kaz, and then nice to see you in person finally, Pak Steve and Taro. Oh, we met already with Taro as well before. So my question may be relevant to the theory that Pak Steve explained before. Because it's very interesting if we see how Australia as a nation, I would say in the world, it's not really interested to join with any of international movement on restoration. Like, for example, we cannot find an Australian map in Bone Challenge or in other international initiative on restoration. But then when you see at the local level, when with this Landcare movement is massive, and then everyone, even you can frame it as ikigai, it's very dependent on each individual that involved in Landcare. What do you think, Pak Steve? Is there any learn that or way maybe from this level of bottom-up movement or initiative of Landcare possible to influence the policy making at the national level? So then, well, Australia has a great initiative on restoration as well. So.
Lead on the international stage.
I'm happy to be part of it. Yeah, so, well, yeah, part of our discussion today. I think it's interesting. Thank you.
Maybe pass the catch box back to Jason or to Jasper.
Thank you. It made me reflect on the whole presentation on through the global Landcare, or Australian Landcare International. They sent me to Zambia to run a masterclass or teach a masterclass. I think we had 16 sub-Saharan countries represented, and the people there kept telling me, go back to Australia, tell your government the best thing Australia has ever exported to Africa is Landcare. The Landcare model has been distributed just almost like it hitchhiked across the country, and there was Landcare or Landcare equivalent organisations, and very small amount of resourcing or individuals who've made these connections work. So in one sense, if it's a good model, and it is so strongly committed to this empowerment model, it's already taking over. And in a way, it doesn't need, I mean, it would be great if government gave some more resources to it, but there's lots of people who are doing a really good job. And it has emerged with some good connections to Japan. I know that through my old friend Rob Yule, who you've probably met. But it's also, there's some connections to Germany and many connections to sub-Saharan Africa and who knows where else.
Philippines, I think.
Yeah, Philippines is very strong. And the other thing we talked about there was, do we need to call it Landcare, or could it be Landcare by any other model, which is the empowerment model of learning and sharing and acting, and the subsidiarity model, which we heard. I really liked your presentations because I thought you all gave a nice sort of theoretical explanation as to why Landcare appears to continue working and generates lots and lots of support from very diverse, like people of different political persuasions and so on. And I think if it is a good model, it'll prove itself over time.
Anybody want to add there? Have to pick that box up soon.
I have a short comment for that. I think yesterday also we talked with Peter about the relationship with the government. I also talked in my last slide today about the way the government look at this movement itself. So if they have misperception about, or if they think that bottom-up approach is inefficient, then it will be very difficult. Even we have a very good ideas about that. I think you talk very well about that, about the experience about Landcare movement to Africa. People in Africa think that is the best thing you import for us. I think maybe they think a good values in that. But if the government look at this kind of movement, yesterday Peter talked about here at the university, if you look like for right wing party, for example, if they look at it as a woke, then it's very difficult even we have a very good idea about, for example, in Landcare movement. So I think today Taro's talk about this expertise. Actually, those who involved in Landcare movement, they know by experience. And sometimes those people, they know better what's in the field. So it's easy for us as intellectuals read from books. We can know about everything from books, and then we can explain to other people. But when we want to apply it to certain problems, sometimes it's not fit very well. But those in the field, for example, Landcare movement, because they do it every day, and then they learn from experience, and then when they want to apply it in another place, it can be work very well.
I think that was probably part of the political appeal of Landcare at the start, Jason, as I would think of it, is just that it was a grassroots movement that politicians could endorse as a cross-party, political sense, environmental and movement and farming interests initiative. And so it was easy, relatively easy to build political support for us because of how it emerged. But Jason was probably there.
It emerged separately in. I've got one here.
Oh, sorry.
It emerged separately in at least 4 Australian states, and we had different names for these local groups. But I think the question of the political appeal comes down to the idea of not imposing solutions on people, but allowing them to develop their own, which fits with what you've been saying, the subsidiarity model. So it's also doesn't define the problem for people. It says, as a group working at whatever scale, if if you set that as your priority to whatever, control rabbits or control weeds or get better at revegetation or whatever then you can go ahead and work out in your own way how to best do it in your place. And I think that biogeographic diversity and social diversity and the idea that instead of government telling people they have to be good at soil conservation or feral animal control or whatever, it's like you work it out for yourself. And hopefully the role of government and experts is supportive rather than imposing from above.
Do you want to say something?
Yes, can I?
Yeah, sure you can, and then we're going to go to a couple
Okay,
more questions. No, please do, and then we're going to go to a couple more questions online and come back into this room.
Well, I just wanted to thank Jason to take that point because I'm also a board member of Global Landcare, and I pretty acknowledge the importance and power of Landcare principles and approach. And yeah, well, when I interview people, farmers or Landcare people in Australia, people always told me that well, when farmers you cannot talk to farmers what to do, but if you have to motivate them how to do that. So from my perspective, maybe the back to the question of agencies, the importance of coordinators, I think they have the tacit knowledge, and maybe they have expertise, specific type of expertise, what the interactional expertise, and they well, to me, there are legendary coordinators, Landcare coordinators, and they brought the idea abroad, and sub-Saharan countries, they saw huge success there. And so I believe that not just allowing the local people to whatever they want to do, but it is also important to acknowledge the power of coordinators to motivate and share knowledge and give them kind of ikigai to local people. So yeah. So
Where do the coordinators fit into Taro's model?
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's very important thing in Landcare is that scientific knowledge. They think scientific knowledge is important, as well as the indigenous people's knowledge is also important, so that these knowledge and experience can be exchanged in their activities. But egalitarian approach of knowledge is the scientific. They decline the value of the scientific knowledge under that indigenous people's knowledge. So humble seems too humble. But I think Landcare people very well know about the importance of scientific professional specialist knowledge, but they think they think that it's very important to share the knowledge among the peoples who are not necessarily professional, but ordinary people. But I think they trust, they believe the ordinary people can be educated by their process to have an international expertise. So my model implies what it is. Make sense? Not
maybe well, maybe you can add something, but later. But to my understanding, the coordinators can play a very important role in opening the dialogue between the actors who has different expertise, contributory expertise.
Yes.
So maybe you wrote a line, the kind of like circles, but actually the circles can mean that there is conflict between actors. But when effective coordinators come in, they can adjust and they can coordinate and they can open the dialogue between the actors through holding workshops or through bringing experts into the local places. So I think that the coordinators can be placed in your model too.
Let's come to some questions online. I can give you this one, Vicky. Okay. Thanks. And then a couple more in the room as well, I think.
So Jen's just following on from her comment about the Wentworth group of scientists blueprints, and says that the blueprint doesn't seem to outline the decision making. So we might need a paper reflecting the concepts you've all talked about today as a response, and to build the conversations and the interactional expertise now needed by and with Landcare.
Yeah, we'll take that point, I think. Thanks, Jen.
And then a question from Deepika, who says, a great set of presentations. Thanks to all the speakers for that. My question concerns fiscal decentralization or financial capital, or even financial responsibilities, which overlap with all the presentations. I'm curious to know how fiscal devolution of powers is structured vertically or horizontally in Landcare, and how does it interact with autonomy, which was a critical part of all the presentations.
That sounds like Dr. Deepika, who just was awarded her PhD for PhD on polycentric governance. Hey, Deepika. Did you want to say anything about that question, Steve? Or
Yep. Maybe I can go.
But actually, I want to ask you, because it's happened here in Australia. Maybe Kaz can answer this question, but maybe I can add later.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the financial capital and autonomy is very closely linked, because I've seen not many groups, but I've visited several groups that who showed their anxiety of getting they were short of financial capital, and they cannot maintain their activities, and they're quite autonomous. I mean, they can determine their plan by themselves, and they have contributory knowledge and maybe introductory knowledge, and they're very good at handling and nurseries, but their activities are facing the shortage of financial capital, and it lowered their autonomy to manage their activities. So I think the financial capital is closely linked to managerial autonomy, and also it can connect to kind of the capacity to invest in capital assets too. So it can decrease their degree of autonomy. So I believe that that support, or they need more support, or they need to be more to get more capable of earning money by themselves. So the financial capital is closely related to the autonomy, group autonomy.
I think Kaz already explained about this. In my presentation today, I talked a little bit about this, why we need this horizontal subsidiarity, because it leads to all kind of innovative action, also movement, and also the result of that is that it leads to independence and autonomy as well. So if they really, because it's low cost, we let those who really face those problems, and then today Kaz talk a little bit about coordinator or those who help those people with their expertise. Taros also talks about that. you can help those people become independent, they can find their own way, including financial matters.
Yes, up to a point. I think,
Yeah.
one of the, some work that Lisa Robinson and I did more than a decade ago looked at how the bureaucratization of the Landcare, well, natural resource movement more generally had really dissuaded people from participating because of the, I won't say anything about the ANU's processes, but just a sort of increasing bureaucratization associated with financial checks and balances meant a much heavier administrative burden for voluntary organisations. And so, that, I guess, coming to your point, Kaz, became an institutional constraint to what otherwise might have been more easily facilitated. So I think these, thanks Deepika for that question, because, polycentric governance isn't frictionless, I guess, and we had plenty of friction in our system at different points. Can I go to the room down the back, Jasper?
Yes, can I just add one comment from
please.
this from Rob Yule, who says that regarding finance, Landcare has a high level of honesty because so many decisions are made by groups rather than individuals.
Thanks, Rob. Good to have you here too. Yep. Jasper, hi.
I just had a question. So about kind of diversity within Landcare and within Landcare groups, and whether or not culturally homogenous groups are more likely to have ikigai as an outcome of being involved. I'm just thinking about people that might be coming into these groups from marginalized communities, and then arriving in sometimes a more relatively homogenous kind of group of like perhaps older white kind of well-to-do people who are volunteering, and then feeling kind of out of place, or perhaps their value conflicts with the people already in those groups, and what effect that might have on their capacity to get these kind of ikigai benefits. Does everyone get the same, or is there like, what happens when you mix it up with diversity? Yeah.
Well, can I repeat your question? You mentioned the cultural group.
Yeah, so I'm using culture generally. So I've heard, for example, that some LGBT people coming into Landcare groups might feel ostracized because they're coming into a community that may not, it's hard to explain, but basically like might not understand or know how to kind of be welcoming to people from the LGBTQI plus community, and therefore, they come to these groups, they feel, or that idea of self-actualization and stuff like that. None of that they don't get those benefits because they're kind of actually being pushed out or made to feel like they don't belong or other things coming into those communities. Yeah.
And your 18 months in Australia included visiting a lot of Landcare groups. What do you have much sense of the diversity of cultural background or identity in those groups? Is that something that you could comment on?
Okay, thank you for your question. Well, from my observation, Landcare group has a shared goal, and they have common interest. So I didn't see such kind of fierce crash between the members. So, but I think some people may have strong sense of obligation or responsibility, and they may sometimes, I didn't see such kind of people in Landcare communities, but it may happen in other area. And I understand that they may feel that kind of ikigai, but my understanding of ikigai is kind of more humble thing. It's not pushing norms to others. So it's kind of individualistic, but it is also social thing. So in terms of the conflict between the people in the group, where some people may be isolated or omitted, that cannot increase the level of ikigai in that group. And I would say that the omitted person or omitted people should, or well, they can form another group to have similar interests and common goals. So yeah, that's the only comment I can make. But I didn't see fierce conflict in Landcare groups in my observation.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yep.
a lot to do with social dynamics in rural communities, isn't it? Sort of there's a bigger issue there as well. Just before I come to you, I'm just thinking as you were responding to that question that many of the people in the room know our former PhD scholar, Soy Mindmane, who experienced a different sort of ikigai in Landcare when she volunteered or she signed up to go on a Landcare event out in the Cotta and found, rather to her surprise, it was some sort of matchmaking event where she was paired up with some person she wasn't expecting, a romantic Landcare experience, but that's what she'd actually signed up for.
I actually know someone who met their partner that way. I am actually one of the people that you described. I'm originally from the States and I studied environmental science. I am the, perfect Landcare volunteer, I thought. But what I experienced sort of first entering a Landcare space was I walked in and I felt like an alien and that people didn't really talk to me or connect with me. And I felt very uncomfortable and left out, that I had just joined this club of older white people that, had been friends for a long time, and I didn't feel welcome. And that was my first foray. And then I was on NRM Jobs and found that Landcare was hiring as a coordinator. So then I became a Landcare coordinator. And I remember in my interview saying, this is my experience in Landcare. I didn't feel welcome. And so, yeah, that's been something that has been a really core part for me, of introducing more diversity into Landcare. And I'm saying this as a white person too, that, on paper, I should have been totally sucked in. So I'm just wondering, half of Australia was born in another country or their parents were, and that is not represented in the Landcare movement. And while I think it's amazing and so positive, I think there's a lot of work to be done, because I think, being more diverse and accepting all sorts of people will increase everybody's sense of ikigai. Yeah. So
I've just experienced the sort of Australian reaction to colonisation.
Yeah.
Since the Second World War, we've had a lot of cultural colonisation through the TV set.
Thanks, Larry.
So I was hoping I could kind of add to this conversation. So I'm not an academic, I'm an undergrad student here. I'm the secretary of the Landcare Club. So we do intrepid Landcare. And I just kind of wanted to speak to this diversity point, because we've got a hugely diverse group. Like probably about half of our regular attendees are international students. And it's an awesome opportunity to connect them with the Australian environment, with the different opportunities. So what I found with Landcare is that, it's kind of decentralized, and there's different groups that are autonomous, but then there's also space for groups like Intrepid, which are also autonomous and roving and get to choose which groups they visit, and can be that connecting point between communities that are not often kind of, able to, or involved in Landcare in Australia. So yeah, and I just kind of, I don't know if it's a question, but I loved the the panel's conceptualization of like expertise. That's really important for young people because we like know nothing. That's what we find in our experience. Like the ideas about autonomy, but then also ikigai, because personally, as someone who's also involved in the mental health space in Canberra, I've found that Landcare has been that ikigai for me, but I find it really hard to communicate. So I'm wondering, like, are there any ways that we can kind of make it more known, like those kind of positive dimensions to Landcare?
Thanks. Did you want to respond to that?
Oh,
Yes.
well, thank you for your comment. I'd love to be connected with Interpret Landcare, because this may be a different thing, but I'm trying to launch Landcare at Nanzan University, Landcare group. So we may the bridge between Japan and Australia and NU and Nanzan University. And I really agree with you that Landcare is you have a diverse background, but Landcare can bring people together, and it can act a kind of a career of making difference. So I believe that kind of approach is very relevant, not just in Australia, but in Japan too. So especially for young people. So I'd love to be connected with you and Interpret Landcare.
Thanks, yeah, we might, looking at the top, I might.
Got one important question. If there's, yeah. Yeah, okay. So Giselle says, thanks guys, one question. I wonder how the philosophy of Ikigai applies in the Australian context. As Kaz may have experienced, Landcare sometimes is linked to white settler Australia and the majority of actors are non-Indigenous. This might be different from Japanese society. And Yuki then adds that regarding Giselle's question, the point Giselle makes about settlers and land is also crucial in Japan. In Hokkaido, where I live, the Indigenous Ainu people were forcibly displaced by settlers, and this remains an ongoing issue today, which makes Giselle's question very relevant.
Okay. Well, thank you, Giselle. I think we need to be careful about the difference of worldviews, because the Ikigai concept is the kind of came from the mainstream Japanese, and it doesn't reflect the Ainu people worldviews, but in acknowledging that, but Ikigai concept can can grasp important aspect of way of living. It's not just some majority of Japanese concept, but it can be universal. And but I don't say I'm not saying that it is useful for Indigenous people. It is not my intention at all. We need to maybe when I apply the concept of Ikigai in Landcare and Australian context, I have to pay deep attention to the difference of the background about how the concept was made, and especially for Aboriginal people. And I want to proceed that kind of research too. But yeah, so that's my future research. So thank you for your comment.
Thanks, thanks for flagging that. So let's just go down. We'll give time's up for the formalities. I'm going to give Steve and Taro the opportunity to say one last word. Then you get the absolute last word because you're the catalyst. And then we'll stop this discussion and have an even more informal one.
Okay. No, it's related to the comment today, I think, how to introduce this. My last words about this, because we also experienced from Taro about Landcare, from Kaz, our areas of interest actually. But because of Kaz, he can join Landcare here in Australia, and then he also part of our institute at Nanzan University. He introduced it to us and introduced a lot of Landcare movement members as well to us, and then we know about Landcare, and for us it's really, I think it's very, the movement is very good for people to be involved because everybody can take part in that, and because they contribute to the society. And I think people find meaning in that kind of movement. So I think it's a good thing. You can also introduce here in Australia.
Okay. About ikigai, because I am a philosopher, I'm interested in the ikigai conception. And I think the Japanese conception is not necessarily authentic about their ikigai. So universal, it should be universalized to the concept which have potential to grasp what we ought to live. So very radical concepts, I think. So we have to deepen the conception of the ikigai related to the Landcare activities. Thank you.
Thanks. And Kaz, let me just come to you to offer any perhaps concluding thoughts about how you'd like to take this discussion forward, or any other closing remarks before we wrap up.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, firstly, I'd like to appreciate this fantastic opportunity and your support, Peter. And this research is kind of collaborative research, and I think it is relevant to go forward more for this research. And I'd like to invite you to come into this arena and proceed the collaborative research. And we're planning to publish brochure concept papers from our institute. So we are happy to circulate it and welcome your comments. And we want to continue this research, and we want to collaborate with Fenner School. And yeah, thank you very much for coming today.
Thanks, Kaz. Well, let me just close by reiterating that point, including to those online. So Deepika, Giselle, Jen, Rob were the names I heard. There might be others. Vicky, thanks for your help as well. And in the room for the next steps in this dialogue, from my point of view, I think a very stimulating set of ideas, as a number of you have commented, to help us think about Landcare, framing it in a somewhat different way from that we've historically framed it in. Thank you for that, catalysing that thinking, and thanks for the invitation to continue to work together. So let me end here. Thank everybody in the room. Thank our panel and their supporter, Sayori, and photographer at the back, and encourage you. I think you're here for tomorrow as well, Kaz?
Yes.
Yes. So this afternoon and tomorrow, an opportunity to catch up with the team before they return to other places.
We may not be here tomorrow, sorry.
May not be here tomorrow. This afternoon. This afternoon is your opportunity. Okay. Applause around the room. Thank you.